Your thing's like it has.
Oh, I'm muted. That's what.
Yeah.
Check.
You're listening to WBXY. Love songs all night long. We're live. Dave,
Both look big at this angle.
She's like, you're there for the crazy, and Dave's the eye candy of the channel.
Oh, you said I'm the eye candy.
Yeah, because I was like,
Laura was like, yeah, that's
I'm
true.
like, Dave does the shorts, and a lot of the shorts are me talking. And she's like, that's because you say crazy things that are really good for
We need
shorts.
Dave for-
And I said, and then other Dave's there for the eye candy, and she didn't disagree.
What was her exact reaction, Dave? I want to know. Our listeners want to know.
This isn't real. This is sound check still. And we're live.
We're not live, but we're recording. Welcome to the Daves of our lives. The opinions, comments, and views expressed on this podcast do not reflect the opinions or views of Dave or any other Daves. All comments should be taken as parody and or satire. Thank you for listening.
Did you want to play Mercy and see if your show muscles can compete with my old man
My
muscles?
show muscles are all there. That's all they're for, is for show.
Lara was touching my chest while we were laying in bed.
Was this before or after she agreed that I was the eye candy of this podcast?
She did not disagree with that statement, and I'm the one that felt that way. And she was like rubbing my chest, and I flexed. She's like, ooh. She's like, I like your chest. And I was like, I like your chest too. I think for different reasons.
That's appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, within the confines of marriage.
Of course.
Yeah.
Marital chest feeling is okay.
It's the only chest for me.
Not even yours? You don't feel your own, Dave?
Oh. It's the only female chest for me.
Welcome back to the Daves of our lives.
Yeah, it's a podcast about stuff.
Stuff that you may not want to know, but we're going to tell you anyway.
Yeah.
T-shirts are coming, maybe.
One day.
So, Dave, I got to tell you, I have a contact in my networking group that produces podcasts. And I was tempted to ask him how much it would cost for us to get him to do the setup for us.
Wait, like a real producer,
Like
not
a real producer,
not your wife?
No, sorry, babe. You do a great job, but this guy's a professional.
Oh yeah, you should ask him.
So it might be costly, but here's what his suggestion was, because we do have a Dave coming on in a month for episode 20, where this is 18.
I thought you said 25.
He wants to do 20.
He doesn't think we'll get
So
to 25. He's like, let me jump on.
He's like, these guys are running out of content. They need something fresh. But here's the other thing. So that we're gonna have a guest on, which is why we wanted to upgrade our setup a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Might need a third chair.
we might
Because
need a
I'm
third
not
chair,
letting him
and
sit on my lap.
I don't know how we're gonna set up the camera, but we'll get that figured out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
And so we're gonna have another Dave on. And so I told this guy, I said, we're doing this as cheap as possible right now. And I said, when we book Dave Chappelle, I'm coming to you.
When we get the Dave Chappelle. Okay,
Dave Chappelle, David Spade. I am okay with flexibility on the Dave as long as Dave or
David.
But it is the Daves of our lives. And if they're going to be a guest on the podcast, they're going to go by Dave. Even when we have Tom on to do our crossover episode.
Or my sister Becky.
Becky's going to be
We
Dave.
will call her Dave Ella. Dave Ella.
Dave Ella. It's got to be Dave.
Dave Key.
Dave Key?
Well, it's like Becky and Dave mixed, I guess.
Let's workshop that.
We're going to workshop that. Okay, so
So-
I talked about this a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
how we were looking for an African-American Dave.
Yes.
Okay, so...
Did you find one? That's not Dave Chappelle?
Instead of just randomly yelling Dave,
Oh.
whenever I see the one black person a month in Brigham City, Utah,
Which there was a real incident of that, by the way. It did happen.
I am just going up to them now.
Oh, tell me more.
And so I was at the grocery store. This was on Memorial Day, and there's a black guy, and I was like,
Did you approach him as, hey, brother, are you Dave?
No.
Okay, that's
it wasn't
probably smart.
very suave.
Okay.
But I was looking at it, and I look at Laura and Lucy, and they're like, "No, don't do it." They know.
You caught him. and
They
you're
know
right.
what I'm gonna do, and I'm just like looking at them, and I'm like,
They know
So,
because they see a black guy in the store.
yeah. Anytime they see a black guy, they're like, stop harassing black people. Anyway, so I was like looking at him, and then we left. And then we crossed paths again, but this time Laura and Lucy were on a different aisle. So I was left alone, unattended. The most dangerous
that's
version
perfect. That's
of
great.
myself.
I'm going to adjust
And-
the camera while you keep talking.
Yeah, he looked at me and
Keep going, Dave.
okay. Anyway, so he looked at me and made eye contact, and I was like, "Hey, is your name Dave?" And that's just I was like, is your name Dave? And he looked at me and said, "No, it's Daryl."
Oh, so close.
It was so close.
so close.
Every time I ask, it's some other D word. And I was like, you looked like a Dave. And I just didn't say anything beyond that. But he's visiting a friend from New Jersey, and we had a pleasant little, 1 minute conversation.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's beautiful in Utah and stuff. But I'm just going to be more bold. I'm just going to ask
I think
them.
that's a more appropriate way to approach it.
When I went
Excuse
up,
me, but is your name Dave?
pardon me, but do you have any
Pardon me, sir.
Black Dave?
We need a black Dave.
When you were talking to that guy at the school,
Yeah.
and he was African American, and I thought you knew him and you had just met him, and I was like, Dave. If you're listening, we're sorry. I'm sorry. You don't need to apologize.
He was so cool. We had him over for Easter, actually.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay,
he's
that's awesome.
my son's dad, and so he's good.
He's your
a
what?
nice guy. My son's friend's dad. Sorry,
You said
Thank
my
you.
son's dad.
I did. He's not my son's dad. I'm my son's dad. He's my son's friend's dad.
Freudian slip there.
Yeah. No. Well.
Anyway. Okay,
yeah.
so your producer friend, he had some recommendations.
He had some recommendations, so we recommend get a mixer,
Okay,
and
mixers
then-
on the way.
and then we need to do XLR mics.
Get better mics. We're getting better mics. We're
gonna
getting
get
better
mics,
mixers.
Better mixers. The camera setup, I don't know how to do yet. That might be just set up multiple cameras and sync it with the audio at some point. So we just record the audio on an audio file, and then we sync up the audio with the cameras, and then just cut out the audio that the cameras record.
Sure, I'm sure. Yeah, we'll figure that out. We'll have fun.
Yeah. But then his other suggestion was, he had somebody that he produced the podcast for, and they scheduled 2 days to do recordings, and they just lined up everyone they were interviewing. For
Oh
the
yeah,
podcast.
that's not an uncommon thing.
Right, and they booked an Airbnb, they set up the cameras, they set up the mics, and they just scheduled out an hour or 2 hours at a time to do a month and a half, 2 months, 3 months worth of content, and then just posted it.
Yeah, and then you can spread it out. I think that where we are not doing this professionally
That was my
and
thought,
for
too.
money.
I was like, when we actually have money coming in from this,
Yeah, if there's ever any real money from this,
then we'll look.
one of
around something like
my coworkers told me that when YouTube was very early, this is at the old job, he had a channel, and he had millions of views.
Really? Because it was so new to YouTube? What was the content?
He would open up like Pokemon cards. So no faces, just their voices.
Just
he
like
has
an
an
unboxing-
he has an excellent voice. He really does. Like when he told me this, I closed my eyes and I listened to his voice, and I was like, it's heavenly, man.
Imagine that with a really good mic and
yeah.
good audio mixing.
They
and
were
good
making some
compressor,
decent money
yeah.
off of it, but it was just kind of like a hobby for them. And so I told him, I said, man, it'd be fun to get like some short hits 1 million views. Feels like a bucket list item, but
Yeah.
it would be terrifying to be super viral to the
Yeah.
point where it's like,
I feel like we're pretty vulnerable on this podcast. We share a lot.
and I'm
and-
okay with that.
Sure.
And even if it went viral and people went back and like looked at stuff, it'd be like, okay, that's who we are.
Yeah.
I mean, people like authentic.
Right.
I'm not
Right.
running for political office, or are we? Anyway,
we did talk about you running for mayor.
That's just as soon as
episode.
I hit my cap of old man things that I want to get fixed, I'll run for mayor of Brigham.
So yes, if we hit something hits, I don't expect anything to. But if at some point, just by doing this consistently, we get a following and get more Daves, then I'll talk to my buddy and be like, hey, we're getting serious.
Dave's a great name. There's a lot of Daves out there.
There are a lot of Daves.
It's
and I think
very
maybe
popular.
We should add a segment.
A second name?
No, a segment.
Oh, a segment?
Yeah, let's add a segment where we just talk about famous Daves. Not the barbecue joint, but famous like Dave Thomas or Dave Chappelle
Or Dave Matthews.
Spade, or Dave Matthews. That might be a good one to start with since you share the name.
He's African American.
Dave Matthews?
Yeah.
Of the Dave Matthews Band?
Yeah, he's African American.
Why didn't I know this?
He's from South Africa, and he's Caucasian, so it kind of throws people off when you say that.
That does throw you off. Like Elon Musk, right?
Yeah, like Elon Musk,
He's
African American.
He's African American.
Yeah. Anyway, so you had you wanted to talk about some road.
Oh, some of my road rage?
Yeah,
I don't have road rage.
Absence, lack thereof. Of
Yeah, so I had a
raging
couple
road.
experiences. We went to Colorado over the Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, so you're on the road with a bunch of crazies, including yourself.
Exactly. I feel like I'm getting more sane the older I get, though. More sane than everyone else on the road.
Get off my lawn. I'm totally sane.
Observation about Colorado drivers on the freeway.
Okay.
Almost every one of them goes under the speed limit unless you're passing, and then you get up to the speed limit to pass.
Really? Do you
That's
think
what
this
I've
Memorial Day, is this Memorial Day traffic, you think?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's possible, but for the
There was a
most part,
lot of
Colorado
slow
drivers.
driving.
And I wouldn't say it was slow. It was just consistently under the speed limit.
That's called slow, Dave. Under the speed limit is slow.
From my perspective, yes, that's slow. I'm like, why is the middle lane going 62 and not 65?
Do you wonder if your car's speedometer is accurate?
Sometimes I do.
Okay.
Yeah,
You're like, everybody else is going slow. Couldn't possibly be me.
no, it's everyone else.
It's everyone else.
I don't need to take that kind of responsibility on myself.
I don't need to be curious. They're wrong.
They are the wrong ones. I'm the sane one.
Driving your 18-passenger van with your kids. I'm the sane one. Get out of my way, you crazies.
When you say it like that, Dave.
Okay, say that with a straight. I am the same one.
I'm the sane one driving a 12-passenger van with 5 kids in it.
Okay.
Everyone else is going slow.
Yeah, you're totally sane. You have like an extra 10 seats, man.
We got an extra 5 seats.
10 if they're
but
little
those
people.
are seats for timeout.
Oh, to get spacing.
Exactly.
You have a corner in your van
Exactly. Go to the back.
Oh,
we have an entire row just for
timeout.
Yes.
Okay, quick side note: we rented a van. We went to Oregon, and I'm in the because I'm like, I don't trust my car to make this trip. It has a lot of high miles, so it's like we'll spend a little bit of money, rent a van. It's very nice. Ventilated seats, all the things that I don't have. Right?
It's the best.
It's the best.
It's the best van. It's a big, beautiful van.
It's big, beautiful. Yeah. Anyway, so we're driving, and the kids in the back are like, I can't remember what they're doing, but I'm messing around with the settings, and one of the settings made the headrest flop down like a swinging axe.
Just smack one of the kids.
And it like hit a kid.
Yes.
And they're, ow! Why'd you do that? I said, while you were not misbehaving right now,
No.
there has been a moment on this trip where you did wrong, and justice has now been served. That was my way of kind of apologizing. But then after that, if they were bad, I'd be like, Laura, and she'd open it up, and they're in the back row. I can't reach them. They're like outside of the jurisdiction of my ability to smack.
What kind of van was this?
It was just like a Dodge Caravan or something. It was just like a regular.
Like a 2025?
I mean, it was like 2023.
Well,
it was newer, right?
Okay. Whoever designed that van, forward thinking.
I think
For
it was a
families.
dad.
Absolutely.
I
it was
think a dad designed it because he's like, I need to be able. The kids are too far away for me to smack when they're being bad, but I need something. Corporal punishment. I mean, it came swinging down. It was not. There was no soft close. It was like there's probably weights in the thing, and it's just like whack.
It's like one of those boxing gloves in a box.
Yeah. Bing. Open this. So Laura, they start mouthing off, and she goes over and, sorry, we'll be good.
All right, whatever dad designed the 2025 Dodge Caravan.
No, it was like 2023. This was a couple years ago. So it's like 22, 23.
Forward thinking.
And I'm not sure it was a Dodge Caravan. But whoever it was, we can be bought.
Dave.
We can be sponsored.
Sure. And if sponsorship is give me that van so I can smack my kids with the headdress when they're misbehaving, I'm open to
I feel
it.
like this is an add-on.
Okay, give me that feature.
Yeah, I
What
think
is
we
it gonna
patent
take?
it, and then we make this as a, hey, is your headrest ever in the way when you're driving? Like it's in the
Sure.
visibility range,
Yeah,
right? You could just drop it down. Or
or
if a kid's mouthing off.
But here's
You
the
can
problem
smack
I
them
see.
in the head
Here's
with
the problem
it.
I see, right? You know how most modern vehicles will turn off the passenger side airbag if no one's sitting in it?
Are you worried that this will swing and there'll be no kid and justice won't be
No,
served?
no.
The swing to justice
I'm
ratio will be
worried.
off?
No, that's not what I'm worried about. Well, yes, the swing to justice ratio will be off because they're going to build in some safety feature that if there's pressure sensors in the seat and it's occupied, that headdress ain't coming down.
Let me tell you this. All three of them came a swinging.
I know, but this is 2 years old.
I have not seen a recall.
It's going to
on it.
happen. It's going to happen because they enabled that for the passenger airbags. If there's no one sitting in it, and
Yeah,
you get in a wreck,
airbags.
the airbag's not going on.
Or if it's like a lower, yeah, but that's like a fatality. This is just, like I said, justice. It's not fatality.
Justice.
Kids
sir.
fight over like not going in the back row, and I look at them and say, "Listen, you're outside of my ability to discipline you physically while
But
we're
this
driving."
solves so many problems.
I'm like, go in the back row. It's the safest row for you.
You know how much time this saves on road trips, Dave? I don't have to pull over.
Yeah,
I don't have to threaten. I'm turning this around.
you can just
It's
press the button.
just raise my finger. That's it. I don't even have to push the button.
Well, this kind of
Finger
makes
is
you
up,
wonder
children.
why you have.
Beware.
We don't want DCFS coming, but if a shock
no,
collar,
but to that. We don't want DCFS coming.
period.
We don't.
If a
that's
shock
not-
collar is okay to use on a dog to keep them in a fenced area, can you use that on a child in a
I
car?
don't think so. I don't think you can.
I've never done
No,
it.
I
I'm
don't
asking for a friend.
I mean, have you ever experienced the shock collar? I have,
You have, and
and it's not pleasant. It's not something.
listen. One of the things we talked about was we weren't going to bring bedroom activities into the podcast. So
I wasn't gonna say where.
where was your safety word? Woof woof.
No, because that shocks you.
That was your anti-safety word.
It was, if I need
Okay, anyway, so
anyway.
the drivers are slow in Colorado.
drivers, if you want to call them slow or
I don't mean
more
they
cautious.
they are under
the observation is in Utah on the freeways, the slow lane is going the speed limit, and every lane to the left of that is used to pass the slow lane.
Yeah.
At least it should be.
So
It's not always the case, right?
the law is in Utah is if somebody wants to go faster, you have to get out of their way when you're in the fast
the
lane.
law is slow traffic, keep to the right.
Well, that's also the law, but you can't just park in the fast lane
Right.
and
You
just
need
keep cruising. You can do it as long as you're not in anybody's way. If somebody comes up and they want to go faster, you need to move over.
Yeah, it's a push.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which that doesn't happen in Utah. Okay. So that's one frustration, right? It's people just left lane loafers.
Let me
all
ask
over.
you this. So in Utah, when it first came out, it was a high occupancy vehicle lane.
Yeah.
So the carpool lane.
Yep.
And there's a double white line, so you can't cross those to enter and exit. There's only
Right.
designated spots.
Yep.
How do you feel about people that are in that lane that are going the speed limit only?
I'm not a fan.
Okay, do you feel that they should keep up with the speed if somebody behind them wants to go faster? Do you feel like they should have, what do you feel like the person in the carpool lane should do if somebody comes up behind them and wants to go faster?
If someone comes up,
Because they can't leave.
right, I think as soon as the opportunity comes up, when there's a broken,
When there's the dash line and they can move over.
Yeah, get over, get out of the way. As long as you're not impeding the flow of traffic. We're going to take a pause here for a second.
Okay, so...
And we're back.
Yeah, we're back. We're live.
We're live. Well, we're not live, but we're recording.
We're alive.
We are.
So your thoughts are, hey, if you're in the high occupancy vehicle lane and you're going 75, that's the speed limit, and somebody comes up behind you and they want to go faster, you can't get out of the way. Maybe you don't want to speed. So when the opportunity arises, get over and let them keep going faster, and then you can move back in.
Right. So yeah, if you're not impeding the flow of traffic, I think that's appropriate. But if you're getting out of the HOV lane and you're slowing other people down,
well, because now you're entering into what I would consider the fast lane. So when it was just the HOV lane, my thoughts on it, and this is an etiquette thing, is I would say you have no expectation for that person to go with the flow of traffic, because it's not a passing lane.
right?
It's a high occupancy vehicle lane. They now make it like a fast pass lane that you can pay money.
Right.
But that's because of traffic.
Right.
And usually it's like, dude, if you're going the speed limit in traffic, that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
We have a fast lane. I don't have two fast lane.
Sure.
So my philosophy is I get in the high occupancy vehicle lane because I want to shut my brain off for the next 45 minutes, not worry about changing lanes. I don't want to have cars on both sides of me being in the middle lane, because it is higher risk for me being there.
Yeah.
And I'll set my car, I don't know, 5 over the speed limit. So I'm going like 80 on cruise control.
Yeah.
And people show up and they get behind me and they sit there and they're like anxious. And a lot of times they'll just cross the double white line and go around me. And I'm like, I don't care. Because if
you're the one risking a ticket at that point. If you're
but I also don't want to go. But I don't want to start going, like, the cop's not going to be like, there is no expectation or law on the books to
get out of the HOV lane,
to keep up with the flow of traffic in the HOV lane. So it's not a ticketable offense. Right. So I would say, hey, this isn't the fast lane. It happens to be the most left lane. It's not the fast lane.
Right.
And so if someone wants to go under the speed limit in there, that really annoys me. I'm like, dude, go in the slow lane. But if you're going at least the speed limit, in I will never get mad at you going the speed limit in the high occupancy vehicle lane. Because you're going the speed limit. Congratulations. Thank you. You're going 10 other, kind of bother me. You want to go 85, 90 in there? Wrong lane, dude.
Okay. I could see that. However, here's my personal approach. My personal approach to the HOV lane is I will get in the HOV lane when there is high traffic.
Yeah.
If there's more than one person in the vehicle with me, I'm only getting in there if there's traffic. If there's not like traffic, like say I'm heading home from late night with family, I don't even worry about it. I just
stay. You don't go in that lane.
I just use the rest of the lanes appropriately, right?
Yeah.
If there's no traffic, I'm in the far right lane. If I'm coming up on somebody, I will move over to pass.
Have you heard the theory? Yeah, no, I'll be honest. I used to drive more out of it, but just like the older I get, and there's kids in the car, and I just want less variables when I drive.
Okay.
It's just like, hey, I don't need to think about changing lanes. I'm not in the slow lane going slow. I can go at least the speed limit, if not a couple over, and I can just kind of shut my brain off and just drive. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at on it. Have you heard the theory that in traffic, the slow lane is the fast lane?
The slow lane is explain that to me.
Okay. So traffic, think of it like water.
Yeah.
If you have a pipe, what happens in the farmost right lane and especially in like Utah roads, that lane after so many miles becomes what? an exit only lane.
Yeah.
Okay, so the road is doing this. It's getting bigger, it's getting smaller.
Sure.
It's getting bigger, it's getting smaller.
Yeah.
So it has this accordion effect. So now think about like a pipe. If you're putting water through a pipe and you try to push more water through the pipe, it's not going to sit there and be like, I ain't going to occupy that empty space.
Right.
It's going to occupy it.
Yeah.
So the best thing you can do for traffic is occupy that space. And most people don't because they think it's rude. They're like, you're just passing all of us and then you're cutting in front of us. Just stay in your lane. Because you don't like people that like hang to the last second and then cut in front. But the fact is that
if
the
there's
fact
a lot of traffic
is as long as they're doing it safely, it is better for everyone to use as much road as possible at all times.
Right.
Width-wise.
Especially when there's changing the amount of lanes.
Yeah. So
and that's my other observation and complaint that I wanted to talk about.
If you get in that lane and as soon as it has the half-mile mark and it's traffic, because of big trucks, there's a lot of accordion movement going on. Yeah. And I'm not suggesting cutting in front of big trucks, but because of that, there will be breaks that show up.
Yeah.
I have never once done this and not been able to get off with extreme ease, get back into the main lane, get back. And the worst thing happens is you get off and then you just get right back on the freeway. Sure. But I did that and I cut 40 minutes out of what is normally an hour and a half drive.
By getting off the freeway?
No, by staying in the slow lane.
Oh, yeah.
And just weaving in and out. It makes my wife stressed out because the half mile's coming up. Are we going to? And without fail, there is always an opening where I'm not cutting people off. I'm not doing anything rude. And then as soon as we get past the on-ramp and everything and everybody, then you just go back over.
Yeah.
And you just do this. And you are passing cars left and right. And they're over in the fast lane because nobody uses this. And I talked to a friend who is a traffic engineer.
Okay.
And he was like, abso-freaking-lutely. That is the best thing that you can do for traffic is use whatever lanes are available width-wise to keep the flow of traffic going.
Yeah. Okay. I can see that. So here's the other experience that we had.
Observation. Let's call it rant. Rant.
I will continue ranting. So on the weekend, on our way home, we came up through Spanish Fork Canyon, and it went from 3 down to 1.
Painful.
Terrible, right? So we're talking
excruciating.
Yeah. So I've heard multiple people say this, right? When that happens, the best thing to do is zipper.
People in Utah are terrible at zippering.
Terrible at zippering.
Because a lot of times the zippering is not like 2 equal lanes entering into one.
Yeah.
It is one lane that's continuing straight, and then this lane is zippering in, but they don't treat it like a zipper. It's like every other. I let one in, then the person behind me should let one in, and then
right. That's how it should happen.
And the friend who's the traffic engineer talked about that and said people are horrible about it because they get very territorial about like I've been in the right lane the whole time.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It bothers me, and
it's an abomination.
It is. Just get to the very end of the lane, and then every other person.
Yeah.
Right? If you're in this left lane that's continuing, and you're in the right lane, get behind the next person. Well, and then whoever's behind there should be letting the end person in the ending lane in.
A lot of people jump over earlier thinking they're doing a good thing.
And they're doing it. It's terrible.
And it's actually a bad thing.
Yes.
Everybody just stay and zipper.
Just zipper. And here's what pissed me off the most is there was somebody probably 10 cars back in the continued lane that decided to try to occupy both lanes to keep people from getting to the very end of the lane that was merging.
Because he felt like they were cutting in line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nearly cut me off. Because someone got over early.
Did you give him the thumbs down? We talked about this, right?
I didn't give him the thumbs down. I just hit the gas and went around.
I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, but it makes people more upset
We
than
did talk
flipping
about
them
this.
off.
I don't remember if we talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah,
you
it's
give them
way
thumbs down.
worse than flipping. I've never flipped anybody off
You've
in
done-
my
you've
life,
done this plenty of
but
times.
I've done thumbs down, and you get all the kids involved, and you just like look at the person, and you're like this. That makes them more mad than anything.
like Caesar.
Yeah, like you weigh. Yes, and conversely, giving people thumbs up when they do a good job.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I didn't give him the thumbs down. I should have given him the thumbs down. That man deserved the thumbs down.
Yeah, and an invite to come on the podcast if his name is Dave.
Are you Dave?
Super thumbs down.
Bad move. Come on the podcast.
Okay, with our old man traffic rant out of the
Is
way.
the rant over? We're done.
Are we done ranting?
I think I'm done ranting.
I got it out of my system.
Yeah, that was good.
I mean, we can
That
talk
was
about
effective.
traffic. We can talk about traffic every episode, probably.
We probably could.
So, you're okay getting into the topic,
Let's get
or
into
is there
the
anything
topic.
else?
Dave, you wanted to talk about something. That
I have
you
a
did.
dark chapter in my life
I want to hear about
without
the dark chapter.
without death.
That's
So-
surprising.
Okay, so when I was 16 years old, I decided I didn't want to live with my parents anymore. Wanted to go live. They were in Russia. I wanted to go back to the United
Oh yeah.
States.
Okay.
So my parents were like, yeah, that's cool. You know, go live with a family member. And I decided I want to go live with my brother, Michael. It's in a town called Yerington, Nevada. Yerington, Nevada at the time probably still isn't like the biggest town in Nevada, but it didn't have,
Where in Nevada is it?
it's like
Now, bear in mind my
close to
references to
Carson.
Nevada. My
Carson City and Fernley.
Okay, so my references to Nevada are Reno, Las Vegas, and Elko.
It is.
Oh, and Mesquite.
Yeah.
And Wendover.
It's closer to the California border.
Closer to the California border, but so is
Yeah.
Vegas.
I'd have to look at a map and refresh
Is it
where
like
it's at.
middle of nowhere?
It's middle of nowhere.
So Carson City is kind of like middle of, like in between Utah and California, in the
Yeah.
middle of Nevada, right?
It's close enough to the border that it was related to like my brother's job. Anyway, so it's
Okay.
Fernley. Okay.
Okay.
Fernley,
Fernley,
used to be
Nevada.
called Pigeon Switch,
Pizen Switch.
which is
Is that
a which
Native
is
American?
a dialect of poison switch.
Poison
It's just like
switch.
Pizen.
Pizen Switch?
Pizen switch. And they wanted
Oh,
to
you went
get
and did that Pizen Switch.
the Pizen, yeah.
Okay.
So it's called Pizen Switch, and they actually they changed the name of the city because they were trying to win the bid to get the railroad to run through their town.
Oh, and you don't
And
want
the,
a name like Pizen Switch.
Well, Pizen Switch is not as good as Fernley,
Fernley.
Yerington.
Okay.
There was another town named Fernley.
Was
It
this-
wasn't
was
as good as Yerington.
Someone named Yearing
Yes,
is their town.
the person who was going to make the decision on the award for the
His name was
railroad.
Yearing.
His last name's Yerington. So
Wait, his
shameless.
last name's Yerington? It's
Yeah.
not Yearing's town.
It's
Yearing-
Yerington, Yerington.
Okay, that was the name of the person.
So that's the railroad official's name.
Is Yerington.
And they shamelessly changed their city's name to try to win the railroad over.
Boy, how big was this
And
ego?
that did not work. They did not get the railroad,
Yeah.
but they kept the name.
Okay.
Okay. So I moved here.
You moved to Yerington, Nevada.
There are 432 students in the high school, 9th through 12th grade. There is
Okay.
no stoplight in the town.
Oh, cool.
Nothing but stop signs, right?
Yeah.
So real small town.
Yeah.
My brother's been there for like a year. I move in. I'm like socially awkward, more so than now. I'd been homeschooled for 5 years. I've been overseas.
Yeah.
And I'm moving into a small town.
Yeah,
This was a
socially awkward.
recipe for like disaster.
Yeah. So did you get bullied?
My grandma made me promise that I would wear my bicycle helmet.
No, she didn't.
Oh yeah, she was like, "You're going to be riding a bicycle around town. You have to wear your bicycle
In a
helmet."
small town.
In a
with no
small town. So
stoplight.
I ended up with the nickname Helmet Head because of this.
As far as nicknames go, it's not terrible.
Not terrible.
Hey, Helmet Head.
I
Oh, you're
actually
really hurting my feelings.
I did win over the bullies toward the end.
Oh, tell me how you did that.
They were picking on me, and I looked at them and I said, "Hey, Wayne," I said, why don't we settle this like men by holding hands and staring deeply into each other's eyes while trying to break the other one's fingers off.
You played Mercy.
And I said, in a game of Mercy. And I'm freakishly good at this game. I have not lost since I was like 13 to a BYU
to this day,
linebacker.
I refuse to play Dave in Mercy because
he values his fingers.
I do. I've seen him beat too many people.
Anyway, so he's like, yeah. So his friend's like, Wayne, beat him. And I'm just sitting there like messing with the dude, and he's like purple in the face, and,
and you're like,
and I
smiling
just
at
snap.
him.
I snap, and he's like, you're gonna break my wrist. You're gonna break my finger. I said, say the word. Say the word, Wayne. And he's like, mercy. I said, fine. That wasn't that hard. And then after that, they were nice to me. It's you just have to do something physically.
It's like
impressive.
Ender's Game, right?
Yeah, it's like Ender's Game. You kill another.
You're not stopping this fight. You're stopping all future fights.
Yeah, by killing people as a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
But that was like later in the year. Anyway, so the first half of the year, things are going okay. I make some friends or whatever, and I'm hanging out with some
other
guys.
kids that got picked on.
I would say maybe we were all getting picked on.
Okay.
And this is relevant to the story. And somebody in the town at the high school was running an underground newspaper called the Nonconformist Paper.
The Nonconformist Paper. Okay.
Right.
All right.
And me and my friends were looking at it one day. We're just hanging around.
Did you know who was producing this?
Yeah.
Okay.
His name was James.
And did other people know James was?
James was pretty open that he's running this newspaper, right? So we're sitting around and we're looking at the paper and we're looking at the school newspaper and like, these are both awful. They're horrible.
Okay, so the Nonconformist was not very good. Like, it wasn't well written, or it wasn't well edited, or both.
Yes.
Okay.
It's just a crazy person's rant.
Yeah. Like our podcast.
Yes. Anyway, so we're looking at it and we're like, man, this is kind of lame. And I think because of my love of the movie Newsies, I have always wanted to do something semi-rebellious related to newspapers. And I told my friends,
Not necessarily a strike, but...
Yeah. No, because they printed their own newspaper as part of the strike.
Oh, that's right, they did.
Yeah. Okay, so I said, we should start our own newspaper because these both suck. So we sat down and we came up with pen names and we wrote articles, and it's like the Onion of underground newspapers, right?
So it's satire?
It's total satire, but we don't have a name for it. And it sits on the shelf for like a month. We do nothing with it. And then one day we're like, what if we called the newspaper the Stool Pigeon? Because that is, in the thesaurus, is a name for an informer.
Yeah.
And so I like draw a little cartoon, like pigeon on a stool, and we print the newspaper.
How did you print it?
We went to like a Kinko's. And it's just like 11 by 17.
Was it typed up?
We had it all typed up and everything, and an 11 by 17 folded. So it's just one sheet.
Yeah.
One sheet, right?
Folded in half. Yeah.
Folded in half. And so we go and print like 200 copies. Mind you, there's only like 450 students. And
so half the students are going
to get a copy of this thing. We're doing it for fun, whatever. So when it came to the comic, there's this kid named Shane. And Shane...
Right, you had... How many sections of this newspaper did you have?
So we had like one serious article.
Okay.
Then we had a Ask Dr. Austin section, which was like a spoof on Dear Abby, where he would give terrible advice.
Okay.
We had a section called Horoscopes that was HORROR, and everything was horrible. And it would say things like, you should totally, like the cancers are really digging you. Like go ask them out. And then it'd be like, the cancers are like, the slimy Aquariuses are just going to hit on you, like kick them in the nuts. We had a 13th one called Slimy Thing Under the Rock for the teachers. We had a comic section, and it was pretty well thought out.
That's pretty good.
So anyway, so I draw this comic, and it's making fun of this kid, Shane. Shane's been bullying me and my friends the whole year, and Shane wears a Dallas Cowboy jacket year-round. It doesn't matter how hot it is. He's always wearing it, right?
Yerington, Nevada.
It's a desert
town.
right?
Yeah.
So I draw this picture of a kid sitting there in this Dallas Cowboy jacket.
Oh, obviously.
And he's just dripping sweat. He's like, man, it's really hot. Somebody's like, you think you should take that jacket off? No. And he's just dripping. That's it.
That was it.
But it's a Dallas Cowboy.
So it's obviously, what's his name?
Shane.
Shane. It's obviously Shane.
It's obviously Shane. But I'm like, this is the only thing we can do because we're nerds. We're not going to fight.
How many people in the school knew you were producing this newspaper?
So at the time, we didn't put any names on it, and we just like handed it out.
But you were seen distributing it.
I can't remember if I actually physically distributed it at all. Or if my friends did. But anyway,
or if you get there
somebody
early,
told
like
me
a paper boy and pass
Shane saw it and he was mad.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, whatever. So after lunch, I'm walking to class and I get sucker punched in the face. Next thing I know, I'm in a headlock and it's Shane. He throws 2 more punches, misses me. I'm in the headlock.
You're in a headlock and he missed you?
He missed me. I pushed myself out of the headlock. And I can tell you right now, out of all the physical fights that I've been in, which is more than one.
Okay.
I had like no adrenaline. I was like, whatever. And I kicked him in his kidney, like in the side, and dropped him to the ground, pinched his nipple, twisted, and held him down until teachers came. He's screaming. And I mean, I'm like, I don't even want to deal with you, Shane.
So you're purple nurpling this kid while teachers are watching?
Yeah, they come up, get off him. Like, I'm just holding him down until you guys get here.
I'm just holding him.
It was only one nipple. I had the other one, like, pinned him down. And so I drop him one kick. Teachers come. We get pulled in. There was a crossword puzzle type thing that made fun of the vice principal.
Oh, okay.
His name was Mr. Savage, and he was very large, and we kind of made it sound like Santa Claus. And so he pulls us in. He's like, "What the crap?" And
you responded.
I said,
"Did you respond with?"
I said,
"Ho ho ho!"
Yeah, I said, "Mr. Claus," and he's like, "There's no E in Mr. Claus," and I was like, "That's good to know." So we're playing dumb. In retrospect, for this whole episode, let me just clarify this: there are things that I did that I regret. I was being
really?
a punk.
Okay,
I was being a punk.
You were a teenager.
I was a teenager, but it's like super hurtful.
And your
like
parents are on the other side of the world, so
yeah, I'm living with my brother.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what to do with a teenager. He just has a baby. He knows how to like change diapers. And so, you know, we end up in school suspension.
Of course. In school suspension.
Yeah, so I had to go to the school to a designated space like off campus. So I'm in the school's custody and do stuff for like 2 weeks.
Janitorial.
No, I'm just sitting there like doing homework or reading. I mean, it's like
for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks, right? And he got in school suspension. We're both in the same room for like the next 2 weeks. And
any school administrators see this. That's not the way to do it. If people get in a fight, you don't put them in the same room for 2 weeks. That's
in a get-along shirt.
Yes, there we go. Put them both on the friend bench.
The friend bench, right? But I remember that the administration was super unhappy about the fact that we had done this newspaper and that had led to a fight. And there were kids like pulling newspapers out of garbage cans because like the administrators are throwing them out. And this thing is like hot. People want this newspaper. Now it's a collectible, right? So I ended up getting a black eye because he hit me just right.
Oh, he sucker punched.
And he saw me like, I don't know, 2 weeks later, and he was like, "Hey, I'm really sorry." And he's like, "About the black eye," and I was like, "It's okay. I'm sorry I kicked you." And he pulled up his shirt, and dude, it was all shades of purple. I might have broke a rib. And he's like, "This hurts so bad." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, Shane. But you kind of been a jerk to me and my friends, so we were just making fun of you because I was like, but you know, we won't do it again. I'm sorry, right?" And so then me and my friends.
Wait, now did he continue wearing the Cowboys jacket?
Oh yeah, I mean that ain't gonna change. Shane be Shane. Shane keep Shaning. Anyway, so then fast forward and we're like, hey, let's do another episode or another issue. So we do another issue and we don't mention anything about the controversy with the school.
Like the fight and the principal.
Nothing. We're just going to keep on keeping on. We're just doing our thing.
Okay,
right?
so Dave be Davin.
And the kid that runs the nonconformist paper, he comes up to me at lunch, and he's like, "Why are you doing a paper? Like, this is my turf."
Oh, this is turning into Newsies.
Yeah, and I said, "James, go pound sand. Your paper sucks." So we made a good one. Once again, I'm being a punk.
Yeah.
And he took that as them be fighting words. So his next issue, he prints it, and he just starts saying horrible things about me and my friends that are running this paper.
Oh, he's not like targeting the paper. He's targeting you personally?
Oh, yeah. He called me the Antichrist. He said that I would be 6 feet under in a pine box pushing daisies.
That's like
this is like
of violence. That's
oh, yeah.
Like
this is
illegal.
Oh, yeah. But it's Yerington, Nevada. It's Pigeon Switch, buddy. And so
this guy pulled the Pigeon switch on you.
We're not recognizing his existence in our paper.
Oh,
he's talking about us, and we're just like, we don't even know. You're a cockroach. You're a turd under our foot. And so then we start putting in like little innuendos, little hidden things in the paper to piss him off.
Like what? Give me an example.
I can't remember exactly the things, but we would do word plays so that he knew that we knew, but nobody else knew. So then somebody from his paper comes up to me and says, "Dave, I hate working with James on this paper. Can I get on your staff?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Staff's pretty full." I'm like, let me think about it. And I said, "I will feed you information. I will be a double agent." Informant? I have an informant on the nonconformist papers.
You have a stool pigeon from the nonconformist.
Yeah. For the stool pigeon, right? So I'm like, okay, this is pretty sweet. So me and my friends, we come up with a plan, and we recreate their episode. We recreate their whole format and make a page of his newspaper. It looks immaculate. We write the whole article.
For his newspaper. Okay.
And then
does your guy puts it into the
No. He tells me the day that he's going to print. And so I get the notice that he's printing tonight to distribute the next day.
So you print this
So we print this one page, we staple it to another piece of paper, we rip it off, because he would staple like 4 pages together.
Okay.
So it looked like it was part of a bigger set. We fold it up into a letter and we drop it off at his house and say, "Guess what's getting passed out tomorrow?" And this is
some mob crap, Dave.
Oh, dude, this is next level messed up. It gets better. So in this, we're like saying all these things about him. It's kind of like a confession.
Okay. Oh no.
And we're making him, and some of the things that we made him claim in this were pretty horrible.
Any that you feel comfortable sharing on this podcast?
No.
Oh my gosh.
They're pretty bad, okay? But I mean, he did call me the Antichrist and said he wanted me dead.
Yeah, that's pretty terrible.
It's pretty terrible. So we didn't feel so bad about kind of
him confessing to.
Yeah, one of the things that we confessed to was that he always really wanted to be a rollerblader. He was a closet rollerblader because there was a big rollerblader skateboarder thing going on.
Sure.
And he was a big skateboarder, so we're like,
this was a rivalry.
This was where he's like, I just want to admit to everybody that I'm a closet rollerblader. Was one of the things. Now, it is his senior year.
Oh,
okay, we are getting close to the end of school.
So you're
slander,
defamation.
This is literally like 2 days before the end of school. No, this is like a week and a half before the end of school.
A week and a half before the end of school, his senior year.
I put this down. We put it in the envelope. We said, "Guess what's getting passed out tomorrow?" Next day, nothing. His paper doesn't come out. No printing. Okay. We did not pass anything out.
Okay.
We just printed the one and dropped it off to mess with
Dave,
him.
you promised me Death is not involved in this.
Death is not involved in this that I know
this
of.
Kid did not harm himself because of
I know of. I mean, maybe later in life. I'm really sorry, James. I'm sorry, Mr. Savage. I'm sorry, everybody, for being a punk. But I don't know. I was homeschooled. And
You got to stop using that as an excuse.
this is old school homeschooling. It's not like new school homeschooling.
It's true.
So I think I can use it as an excuse. I'm an OG homeschooler.
You're OG non-socialized homeschooler.
Yeah, this isn't like homeschooling now that's normal. Anyway,
you were the weird homeschooler.
yeah, I was a weird homeschooler.
So nothing comes out.
Nothing comes out. Everything's radio silence. A week later, he prints an issue and he calls me out.
In the issue?
In the issue,
Okay.
referencing all the things that we claimed, disputing all the things that we said about him.
In the page
In
that
his
didn't
non-
get distributed.
Nobody in the school knew about what he was talking about, yet he is denying all of these things. This is next level messed up, I know.
How did he not know that nothing got distributed?
He just thought that nobody
He just-
showed him. He's paranoid. He's running a paper called The Nonconformist. I
Yeah,
mean, come on.
sure.
So he's like, Dave, if I ever find you in a dark alley, I'm going to rip your head
this
off
dude
and
is
piss
crazy.
down your throat.
No.
And
He
he's
printed
making,
this?
oh yeah, he's making all these horrible claims. So,
If kids did something like this day and age, they would.
there'd be a lot of stuff. But
Yeah.
at this point, I'm like, I don't fight words with words, whatever. I'm not afraid of you, James. And so then we printed the last issue, and it says the stool
The Stool
pigeon,
Pigeon?
and then at the very bottom it says, "Ha, got the last word," and said nothing about it. I think we put like a little like inside joke that he would
Sure.
get, and that is the end of the stool pigeon at Yerington, Nevada. Okay, any questions or comments? Because there is a second part to this.
Okay. Other than the one fight, was there anybody else go to blows about anything you printed?
Not about anything that I printed, but there was another fight. The kid was stoned.
And with the stool pigeon?
No, it had nothing to do with it. It was just like my
Okay,
friend
so
Austin
this-
was stoned, and he like came at me, and I just like full on rainbowed him, like slammed him in the ground, and
He was like,
he like
"Whoa,
jumps up and
man."
pulls out like I thought he was gonna pull out a knife, and he pulled out his CD player and was like, man. And I'm like trying to stop him from fighting
you
me.
Scratch my CD, you know.
But he just kept coming at me, so finally I just used his momentum
right.
to just totally like lay him out. So no other fights. But there was like before the stool pigeon came out, as far as like bullying and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like riding my bicycle and there's kids in a truck like chasing me down.
Like Forrest Gump style.
Yeah, and I went
Throwing
down
cans at
an alley to like get away from them, and it was a dead end. And there was a fence, and I straight up picked up my bike, threw it over the fence, and
Off the
jumped the
fence.
fence because I was terrified that they were gonna like catch up to me and just beat me up.
Sure. Yeah. that's
Because
legitimate.
I was an outsider and
So
I
they're
was like
throwing, like,
socially
pop cans
awkward.
at
Yeah,
you,
they were
yelling the helmet
throwing,
head.
saying slurs and stuff.
What
and
kind of wait? What kind of slurs did you say against some white kid?
helmet head. I don't know.
Hey, helmet head, come here. We're gonna rip that helmet off your head.
Um,
Real creative there in Yerington, Nevada, aren't they?
Anyway, so I mean, like it was hard, but by the time I left, even the kids that had bullied me, like Wayne and stuff and Shane, they were
You're
like,
good with
don't leave, Dave. No, we like you. You're cool. And it was just you had to earn their respect
Yeah.
by doing things that feel like they're wrong. Because it's like, be nice to everybody. No, you got to be mean sometimes to earn their respect,
Yeah.
right? So
And if you've earned their respect, they're not gonna pick on you anymore.
yeah, and that's what I learned was just I had to draw some boundaries.
Sometimes
with
you got to
them.
stand up for yourself.
Yeah,
Right. Like, you can't just lay over or run away from everything. Like that's
yeah.
just not helpful.
And
and everybody seems to have their own way of standing up to that.
correct.
Okay.
I learned a lot of stuff there. I was really grateful for my time there. But in July, my parents moved back to the United States. They're like, hey,
So your dad's tour of spying on the Russians was over?
in Russia. So we moved to Utah. My parents moved to Utah, and I moved in with them. This is 1998.
Down south?
Kearns, Utah.
Okay, Kearns. Okay.
My dad's looking for a job. We're living with my sister in her basement, and my parents are like, when your dad's going to get a job, we're going to go buy a house and move. Like, you're not going to go to high school here. And with that information, I made some decisions that I regret, because I made friends, and they had a yearbook, and I called girls and did things that I would not have done had I known that I was going to school, in fact, at Kearns High. Like this. None of these are horrible, but I would call up girls and be like, hey, is so-and-so there? And the mom would be like, oh no, she's not here. And I'd be like, well, can you leave a message and tell her Dave called? And I give her my number. So she'd call back, and I'd be like, oh, hey, Stacy. She's like, hey. And then we'd have this awkward moment. I was like, I mean, you called me. Did you need something? Like, did you want to go out? And she's like, I'm returning your call. I'm like, don't make this awkward, Stacy. You don't need to lie to me. If you just want to go out, let's go out. It did work.
It did?
With some girls.
Okay.
But other girls, when I actually went to Kearns High, were like, oh, you're the one. And I was like, listen, baby.
No.
Let's not be.
You didn't call him baby.
Yeah, no. I also had a quote unquote Chictionary there, where girls.
Chictionary.
I did not have a phone number when we moved into our house. There was a strike going on, and so when I started going to school,
a strike with like the
phone company or something.
So
they weren't setting up phones in Kearns in 1998 fall. So I'm moving to a new town. I've made some friends, and this girl was like, "Hey, can I get your number?" And I'm like, I don't have a number yet.
And she's like, that's rude.
And she understood what was going on.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, here, write your number down on this back of one of those like spiral notebooks. And so she writes her number, and that's like one of the notebooks I'm using in class. So then like another girl saw it, and she was like, oh, so-and-so put her number on there. I want to put my number on there. And the next thing you know, I have like 50 girls' numbers.
Just because they're
like, I was like, this is my Chictionary. I'm like, not every girl can get on it.
Oh, so you made it exclusive.
I'm like,
but you didn't make it exclusive, did you, Dave?
There's only so much real estate. I wasn't opening up a second Chictionary page. But anyway, so I had there was only one notebook. I wasn't just letting any girl's number on there. And this was the paper that I'd use to like ask girls out. I'd be like, I don't know. Like, Tiffany's on there. I'm like, hey, Tiffany, you want to go out? I was very shy when I came to Yerington, and about halfway through, I hung out with a friend of a friend named Bobby, and he was just like, so what if they say no? And I'm like, so what if they say no?
What if they say no?
And it was like Christmas break, and I came back, and I was like, hey, you want to go out? She's like, no. I'm like, I'll check back with you next week. Literally ask her friend next door. Still got an opening for Friday night. She's like, no. I'm like, you're lost, babe. And like walk away.
What if they say no?
That's what if they say no? Like, who cares? And so I took
like
this.
The worst thing that can happen is they say no.
Look, it's default no until you ask, and then it's just confirmation that it's no. Yeah. Anyway, so I kind of took that confidence into my senior year in Kearns. But I made some friends, and they were like, oh, what was Yerington like? And I'm like, I did this newspaper there. It was a lot of fun. And a couple of my friends were like, we should do the newspaper here. And I said, all right, I'm good with that. So, but this time we decided we were going to keep it anonymous.
Wait, if I'm following this correctly, these are friends that
I made new friends in
Kearns, and you told them about the Stool Pigeon.
Yeah.
And so they're like, let's do it here.
Let's do a Stool Pigeon in Kearns High.
So you kept the name the Stool Pigeon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we got pen names, and I was like, I want to do things a little bit different this time. So we are going to have what I'm going to call pigeon carriers. These are people that are willing to distribute the paper, who are willing to keep our identity secret.
Now,
and they are going.
At any point, did you start charging for issues?
No. However, this time around, I did go around to local businesses and get advertisements.
Oh.
So I went to like tuxedo rental places and flower shops and like restaurants.
Did you sell ad space?
And I sold ad space in the paper.
Wow, look at that. How entrepreneurial.
Yeah. No, it wasn't to make money. It was really to like cover like pizza parties for us and like, you know, a pizza party once an issue and like printing of the papers.
Okay.
And then we expanded it to 2 11x17 sheets.
Oh, wow.
So
Like
it was a little bit bigger, right?
Pages-ish front and back.
Yeah. So we go ahead, we get all the stuff together, and we print like 500 copies.
500 copies.
500 copies.
Kearns is much bigger.
Kearns has like a population, high school student of like 2,000 or something, right? So we do 500.
25% of the population.
I don't know. Like, we're throwing in the money. We got some advertising. 500, see what happens.
Okay.
It's very well received. Everything goes well. Nobody knows who's doing it.
So it's completely anonymous because you have your pigeon carriers, or
we have our pigeon carriers,
your carrier pigeons.
Carrier pigeons that are distributing the newspaper without. Now, at this time, I am in a class called TV Productions, and Kearns had
TV Productions.
Kearns had a like full-on news thing that they do every single morning, and it was done by the kids. So after 2 or 3 I think it was two issues, somebody figured out that I was involved in it.
How did they figure it out?
I don't know, but I got a note on my desk that said they wanted to enter, like, I know you're involved with the Stool Pigeon. We want to interview you on the school thing. Now, at this time, I am friends with a girl in my math class who is the school newspaper editor.
Oh.
She does not know that I'm running this other newspaper. Okay. I am friends with the photographer of the school newspaper.
So you've got connections to make like a legit paper.
Yeah, but I'm just friends with them. I'm not using them for any information.
Sure, but if you ever had, yeah. Okay.
Okay, but this is important for the reason why is I say, you know what? I'm okay if people know I'm running the newspaper. I'll protect the other people's identity unless they want to come out. But they know.
You're okay. No,
sure.
People know you're
whatever.
Editor-in-chief or whatever.
Editor-in-chief of the Stool Pigeon. So I get on the TV and they are like, why did you start the school? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this newspaper? And I said, to be honest, the school newspaper sucks.
Oh, and you're friends with the...
And so we thought we'd make a paper that was fun. I walk out of the recording and there is the guy, the photographer for the school newspaper.
Who you're friends with.
And he's holding a copy of the Stool Pigeon and he rips it in half and he's like, we're done. And he drops it down. He is pissed.
Wait, done with what?
Like,
done being friends with you?
Yeah,
like,
he was mad at me because I said the school newspaper sucks and he does photography for the school newspaper. Right, but
the
it was
pictures in the newspaper suck.
It was offensive. It was wrong of me to say. Like I said, pre-apologies.
Was it wrong of you to say, or did you say something that wasn't true?
I think I said something that a lot of people felt was true, but I think the way I said it was hurtful.
Okay, so
because I was pretty blunt. I was just like, yeah, it was a Donald Trump. So then I go to math class, and Brittany's pissed at me. Brittany's the school newspaper editor, and she's like, you've been running this thing the whole time? Like, you're my enemy.
She's just now finding this out.
And I'm like sitting next to her. I'm like, oh, come on, Brittany. We can still be friends. And she's like, no, I hate you.
So your photographer friend done.
Photographer friend Brittany.
Done.
Brittany's like mad, but she can't stay mad. Like, we're still pretty good friends. So at this point, there's something going on at the school where they're going to try to combine lunches, and it's a big news article. I heard it through the grapevine. So I walk up to the principal and I say, hey, my name's Dave Matthews. I'm editor-in-chief of the Stool Pigeon. I'd like to ask you some questions about this. And so I interview him. I ask him a couple questions. I take some notes. I go and I write the article. We print this article the day... Oh, by the way, the name of the school newspaper is the Cougar Claw.
The cougar claw. Okay.
Okay, and we put the stool pigeon, and in parentheses, the cougar flaw. Okay?
Okay.
So
I like it.
we're having fun. It's the last day before Christmas break. Okay? So we print it. Front page. It talks about, this is our serious article, because we do one serious article.
One serious
The rest of
article.
it's like
Got it.
satire, like
Okay.
anti-squirrel smoking bill. Yes, we did use the acronym on that.
Wait, anti-squirrel smoking bill. Okay, got it.
You got it.
Okay. It took me a second.
Anyway, and we have comics, and I have people drawing comics. We have like a Dread Poet Society where people write like really horrible poetry. We have.
Did you have like anonymous writers?
Yeah,
submitting
I had
stuff?
people contributing things. Like I had my core staff. I have people giving contributions. I have advertising. This is all going very well.
Yeah.
Now, after the second issue, before the third one's printed, the English teacher that runs the school newspaper dedicated a corner of her wall to "I hate Dave Matthews."
The teacher.
The teacher
Someone that's-
allowed
okay.
the students that
okay.
are
So
on the
she-
school newspaper staff to
Got it.
have a "I hate Dave Matthews" wall.
Okay.
Okay, so they are not happy that we're running this paper. They're not happy because it is way
This is straight
more.
newsies, man. Like
It is way more popular. So third issue comes out. It is the day before like spring break, right? Or a Christmas break.
Christmas break. Yep.
And one of my friends comes up to me and he says, "Mrs. So-and-so," I can't remember her name, but I want you to visualize her as like Miss Trunchbull from Matilda because
Okay.
she literally looked like this woman.
No.
She
Okay.
is walking around and physically taking copies of the paper out of people's hands in the
Gosh,
hallway.
It's like Umbridge from Harry Potter.
She has confiscated hundreds, like all the papers she can find. And so I leave class. I am super irritated. And I walk straight into the principal's office, and there's like a student receptionist. "Can I help you?" I said, "No." And I walk right back. I go into her office. She's not there. I go into the principal's office. He's not there. Like, they're not stopping me. I'm looking around for the papers. Somebody tells me, I think they're in this room downstairs. And so I see a janitor walking by this room. I say, "Hey, there's something of mine in here, but I don't have a key. Could you unlock it for me so I can get it?" He's like, "Yeah." So he opens the door. And there's the stack of the papers. I take every single paper, and then I take marker out and I sign the last copy. And I said, "Thanks for holding on to these for me." And I leave it.
You left one copy.
One copy. So she
you took the
knew
rest.
that I got them back and left her a little love note. So then I went and I gave them to a couple friends and they distributed them. And I go back to class and over the intercom, "Dave Matthews, please come to the principal's office." And I said, "Nope." And I left school.
Yeah. Okay.
I ain't dealing with this. You guys can stew over this for the next 2.5 weeks during Christmas break.
Here's what I don't understand. Like, you're doing this with your own time, with your own advertising money, but
Yeah.
still, like, you're not using school resources to
Correct.
print or distribute any of
Nope.
this. So what are you doing wrong at this point?
Okay, and you're going to find out.
Okay.
So the
'Cause
principal...
this had to do with the article about the combining of the lunches.
Yes.
Okay.
This is what made them upset. So apparently I had scooped this article from the regular school newspaper. They had been working on it and very few people knew about it, and they were very irritated that I beat them to the press. Boo-hoo. Who? It's America. Freedom of press.
Right.
I got there first. I did not know it was that sensitive an issue. So the principal pulls my parents in after school break, after Christmas break, and talks to them. And my mom is like, "Exactly what is my son doing that is wrong or illegal?" And he's like, "Well, it made the people upset with the school newspaper, and so he tells it." And she's like,
Okay.
"There's nothing wrong
Again,
with this."
yeah.
My parents had my back.
Yeah, good for you.
Okay.
Hey, way to go, Mom and Pop Matthews.
So I go in and I meet with the principal, and he goes, "I'm prepared to offer you a position on the school newspaper staff." And I said,
I hope you told him where he can put it.
his name was Dr. Jacobs, the principal. I
Okay.
was like, Dr. Jacobs, I appreciate the offer, but I own my own newspaper. I don't need a position on your staff. What can you offer me that I don't already have and more? And he said, you are forbidden to pass your newspaper out on school property anymore. You're like, this is straight up mob.
It is straight up mob newspaper stuff, man. Okay, so you are forbidden.
He said, I'm forbidden to pass it out on school property. I said, that's fine. I'll pass it out on the sidewalk outside of the school. He says, you are not allowed to pass it out there either.
And how does he
so-
propose to stop you from distributing it?
So at this
not
point,
on school property.
I said, I'll pass it out across the street between the seminary building and the high school. There's a large flow of students going back and forth between
Kearns,
the
Utah,
two. Kearns, Utah, right? So, third issue's done. Fourth issue, we print it. I'm not going to talk about this. I don't
You're
care.
not going to talk about this controversy in
Nope.
your paper.
Same thing as last in Yerington.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're not going to talk about it. We're just going to keep
Just
on.
keep doing what you're doing.
Keep it
that
on,
made
right?
It popular. Yeah, don't change it.
So next episode comes out, or next issue comes out, and we everything seems to be going okay. The carrier pigeon carriers
Carrier pigeons
are passing it out off school property.
Okay.
However, the vice principal,
Oh, goodness.
aka Miss Trunchbull, is going around and physically removing them from students' hands while they are reading them in the halls.
Oh man, Dave, you're a troublemaker.
I was so upset. So when I found this out, I'm like, you know what? I played by all your rules, but I feel like this is crossing the line. So I call up Fox 13 News.
No, you didn't.
Oh, yes, I did.
You called Fox 13 News about this?
And I said, hey, Fox 13 News, I feel like this is wrong, and I'd like you to look into it. And they said, we don't do any stories unless it's hit the actual news. So I want you to call the Salt Lake Tribune and talk to Kathy Capos.
Oh, so they gave you someone to talk to?
They gave me somebody to talk to. And so I call up Kathy Capos and I say, hey, this situation. She says, very interesting.
Kathy, thank you for taking care of Dave.
Oh, Kathy was awesome.
Okay.
Anyways,
This is the Salt Lake Tribune.
This is a Salt Lake Tribune. So I call them up. She says, send me all your issues that you've printed so far and give me something in writing and send it over. So I send it over to her. I get a call back like a week and a half later, and she goes, this is ridiculous. There's nothing wrong with this paper. Like, it's just you guys goofing around, having a good time.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything wrong.
Okay.
And she said, I would love to write a paper about this. So Utah,
she wrote an article.
she wrote an article and
about the stool pigeon.
about the stool pigeon and what the school was doing was wrong.
Tell me you have an issue of this. You have.
I have a copy of it somewhere in my house.
I want to read it.
Anyway, so it's the front section of the Utah portion of the Salt Lake Tribune. It's in color. And she had a photographer come over, and two of my friends were comfortable with like being in the picture
public. Yeah.
and
Okay.
being part of it. Their names James Singer and Ben Lurcher, like super good friends
Okay.
from high school. And so they come over, it gets run in the newspaper, and I go to school, and partway through school, the vice principal, aka Miss Trunchbull, comes to my
Trunchbull.
class and says, KSL 5, the news station, wants to interview you, and they wanted me to ask you if you want to do it here at the school or at your house.
Where did you do it?
I was like, I'll do it at my house.
Oh, you didn't want to do it at the school?
I didn't want them having any
Oh,
input
yeah.
or
I get it.
anything,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So I come home after school that day, and they're there. We do the interview. Everything goes well. I get a phone call. My mom's like, "Hey, somebody's on the phone, wants to talk to you." I'm like, "Hey," he's like, "Hi, I'm so and so. I'm with the American Civil Liberties Union."
What?
the ACLU.
Wow.
And we feel that your rights have been trampled on, and we are interested in suing the school district on your
Holy
behalf.
cow. This is going so much bigger than what I thought it was.
Yeah. And I'm like, just a second. And I put a hand on the receiver. I looked at my mom. I said, Mom, who is the American Civil Liberties
Folks
Union?
that don't know what the receiver is, back in the day, we didn't have a mute button. You couldn't mute the phone call, so you just covered the receiver so they couldn't hear you.
Yeah, these are copper landlines.
Right.
Anyway, so I look at my mom. I said, what's the American Civil Liberties Union? And she goes, it's an organization that does a lot of stuff, like freedom of speech. I'm like, a lot of the stuff they do is good, and some of it's kind of bad. And kind of just gave me like a rundown of her personal opinion. And so I was like, oh yeah, I'm like, I would be interested in making sure the school district doesn't do something like this again to somebody else. And the guy's like, I am good friends with the lawyer at Granite School District. I'm going to give him a call and see if we can clear this up. But if not, we're going to sue them.
This is, oh my gosh, Dave, this is so much bigger than what I expected.
X96.
No way.
They had a segment called the Boner of the Day. I don't know if they still do it.
I know they did. Yeah.
Do you know who Boner of the Day was for that day?
The principal.
My principal.
Yeah.
Do you know who was Boner of the Week?
The vice principal?
My principal.
Your principal
was Boner of the Week.
He won Boner of the Week. And, okay.
My sister, I'm like, hey, this is in the newspaper. It's on the radio. And she goes, yeah, but if it's not on AM, it doesn't matter.
Oh, my gosh.
It goes on the AP.
The Associated Press?
Yeah. Picked this up, and it gets printed in I don't know how many other newspapers. So this goes on the AP. It's being talked on like AM stations now.
Like NPR?
I don't know how big it went. But my sister's like, man. Holy crap, this is pretty big, because it was basically the way the law is written. A paper done by students for students can be done, and you have the same protections as the school newspaper.
Oh.
So if they said the school newspaper can be distributed by putting it on the teacher's desk, I have those same rights.
Okay.
If it was outside people writing for the paper, then I could not do it.
It was outside.
If it
was not Curtin's high school students, you couldn't do it.
Correct.
Okay.
But because it's Curtin's high school students, the school newspaper has advertisements. I'm allowed to have advertisements.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's okay. Now, if they restrict the school newspaper to math hall 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock only on Thursdays distribution, I have to abide by those same rules. Okay. But it's kind of a cut off your nose to spite your face situation if you want to hurt your newspaper by doing this.
Right.
So coming out of this, I can do no wrong. It is like they're not messing with me now. And so we come out with our next issue.
Did you address this in the next issue?
No.
So
we're taking the high road.
You just kept doing what you were doing
before.
We're
just doing our thing. But now the distribution's getting up to like 1,500 copies.
Okay.
Out of and the reason why is because there were people in the community that wanted it beyond just the high school. Because we talked about community things too. Yeah. Like the USANA Amphitheater was getting put in at the time. So we wrote an article about that. Anyway, so we do our next issue. It's very popular. Lots of people are talking about it. Along the way, I need to explain this. Actually, I'm going to come back to this.
Okay.
We need to talk about the choir teacher at some point.
Okay.
But me and my friend James, we had a
So wait, now the attorney for Granite School District,
he smoothed it over.
Okay, and the principal's like, okay,
I'm not getting in the way. Dave can do whatever he wants.
Miss Trunchbull
she's not bothering.
Okay.
Like
she's not taking issues out of kids' hands anymore.
Everything's fine.
Okay.
So we get down to an episode, and they had hall monitors that would stop you if you were late to class.
Sure.
And the way the policy worked is you could be tardy X amount of times and you could be absent X amount of times.
Right.
But basically, if you were tardy but you had no absences, it was better for you to not go to class.
Okay.
there's a flaw in the system.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we wrote an article about this, but the hall monitor teachers that were doing this were really dictatorial.
Dictatorial.
And, yeah, so we wrote an article called "Reign of the Hall Nazis," and it had the soup Nazi from Seinfeld holding a clipboard, and he's like, "Sign the clipboard or no school for you," right? And me and my friend James, we had a big argument about whether or not we'd put a swastika inside the A of the. No, I wouldn't say a huge argument. We had a discussion about it, and ultimately,
Right, but that's
ultimately
okay.
we said, artistically it's there. We're like, swastika, that kind of crosses the lines.
Yeah, maybe
Seinfeld,
sure.
soup Nazi, hall Nazi, that's okay.
Yeah,
and it's our serious article, but it has this like twist to it. We're kind of pointing out the flaw to the system.
Yeah.
At this time, I could walk up and the hall monitor would stop me, and they would give me a hard time. And then when they said, "What's your name?" I'd say, "It's Dave Matthews," and they'd say, "Never mind, just go to class."
Do you know who I am?
I didn't have to pull any sort of "Do you know who I am?"
They already knew.
They knew who I was, and they just said, "Never mind, just go to class." So I'm getting preferential treatment
because they don't want
problems.
Right. Well,
From
they don't
me.
probably don't want articles about them.
They don't want to be the boner of the week.
Exactly. Yep.
On X96. So, anyway, so we run the article. It does really well. Next episode or next issue. I keep saying episode because we're on a podcast. Next issue of the newspaper. The school newspaper runs an article, "The Reign of the Hall Nazis."
The school newspaper runs it,
and structure wise, it is plagiarism. It is entire plagiarism. Every paragraph is different wording, but it's the same logic, and they put a swastika inside their A.
Oh my gosh.
So they stole my article,
Yeah.
plagiarized it. So they plagiarized the article and they put a swastika in the A,
yeah.
which is exactly what me and my friend talked about doing and decided to not do it.
So they did this like after you already
It was like
distributed
a week or two after mine.
So they just straight up took what you did.
Straight
and
up
copied
stole it. They thought it was a great idea. Parents wrote in. They got in so much trouble. Because as an official school newspaper, they put a swastika in their paper.
So it was in good taste that you did not.
Well, I mean, the recourse for us being unofficial is much different, right?
Yeah.
But Brittany and I got most likely to get married because people knew that we had this like rivalry going on.
That's hilarious.
Okay, so finished up the year. I graduated.
So nobody complained about the plagiarism. It was the swastika that was the big issue.
Well, they didn't know about the plagiarism, because maybe they didn't listen. They didn't read the paper too.
Yeah.
So
They
I
just saw
finished
that
up.
and was like, "That's wrong."
Yeah, I finished up my senior year, and handed the paper off to my friend James. He ended up handing it off to his sister. So they
how
kept
many years
doing
did it run?
I think 4 years,
Well,
4 or 5 years.
3 or 4 years after you left? Okay. So with the Yerington issues, how many years running was the
Six,
Stool?
I think 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years of the Stool Pigeon.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in Yerington, it was only like, it was pretty short. I think there were 6 issues, but they were smaller, and it was over a short period of time. I'd say the quality was much poorer. So
Did you ever hear of any other schools doing, or students at other schools doing something like this, doing their own independent papers? Okay.
So I ended up learning how to program in Flash, and I made a fully animated Homestar runner style paper.
Awesome.
This is controversial, but the intro to the newspaper when you went to the site, because I just thought it was super cool. I have the pigeon flapping, holding the stool, and it's Kearns High with the mountains in the background, and he flaps over the school, and then he drops the stool, and it lands on the school, and the school blows up.
Oh, that is a little
like
bit controversial.
nuclear bomb, and then you see the principal holding the paper, chasing the pigeon back and forth on the screen. And then I made my bedroom in Flash, and so like the news articles, it would had like two people talking like this, and the one guy's hair, if you like hovered over the mouse, his toupee would spin around. And then this is gonna sound bad, but like I said, I was stupid, and like the news anchor, her boobs just got bigger and bigger as it talked, and then balloons popped out and just floated away. So there's all these just like wonky things in the website. So I paid like $80. I got the stoolpigeon.com. I set up the website.
Do you still own that domain?
No.
Okay.
I do not. So I got that. I figured it out. It was pretty cool. And then there was a way it was called a ring, I think. And at the bottom of your page, you'd embed something so that you could click next, and it would take you to similar minded papers.
Okay.
And so there were other underground school newspapers in the country, and so I just connected with them to draw cross traffic and stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, I finish up, I graduate, and I'm helping my friend as like a consultant with the paper next year. For you to understand.
Now, does that go outside of student run or student written?
I'm not writing anything.
Okay, you're just
and so him and I are just shooting the breeze. Talking, we're friends, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know, like I don't think it is, but he's in charge. He makes all the final decisions. I'm not writing articles or anything. Anyway, for you to understand things, there is a teacher named Mrs. Mutter.
This is the choir teacher.
Mrs. Mutter. Mrs. Mutter, when I came to Kearns High, I had been a magical in Yerington. Yerington's a much smaller school.
Okay.
But I can sing pretty well.
Madrigals are the singing
They're like
group.
the elite singing group in the high school.
Is
so
it an a cappella group?
They'll sing a cappella. They'll sing with magic, like or with backup music and stuff.
Okay.
Anyway, so I didn't know that I was going to Kearns High until like 2 weeks before school started.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, I'd love to be a magical. So I go and I talk to her, and she's like, everybody tried out last spring. She has me sing some notes. She's like, wow, you sing really well. If somebody drops out, I'd love to have you in. Other than that, get in concert choir. So I get in concert choir. Mrs. Mutter's crazy. Okay? She's nuts. And I sang tenor, and she put me in bass too. And then now I can sing bass too. Okay. But then she complained the whole year about how she didn't have enough tenors. And I'm like, I sing tenor too. I have the full range. Whatever. You're nuts, lady. And she would do things in class like pull her car keys out of her bra and hand them to a student and be like, hey, go get this out of my car. She pulled a yogurt out of her bra once.
That's weird.
Chapstick. She had, this was like the utility belt of bras. Okay? Now, the newspaper came out, and when she found out I was running it, she pulls me aside and she says, I just want you to know, I really don't like your paper. And I was like, okay. And so the next issue we printed, like we did a survey, and 99.999% of people love the Stool Pigeon. And then in small prints, that 0.1% is Mrs. Mutter, who says she doesn't. Right? So we kind of like do a little dig at her because she's against it.
But she reads it.
She reads it. And
so did you know, or did you suspect that she would read this?
She read that, and then this became like this war, and she was like mean to me over it. And her and we're not seeing eye to eye. I think there's some personality differences. I'm like, whatever. So I quit choir. I don't want to be involved with Mrs. Mutter and all that drama and her bra crap. So at the end of the year, we give teachers awards, and we gave her. At the end of my senior year, we gave her the teacher most likely to pull a 2-liter bottle of Coke out of her bra award, because why not, right? So my friend takes over the paper, and he draws. Now, you need to understand, she looks like Ursula.
Oh, okay. I'm picturing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he draws a scene of Ursula directing the choir. She pulls the baton out. And it's like it's her middle finger, and she's like, now sing to the kids.
Is this like the comic strip?
The comic strip, right? And James is a much better like cartoonist than I am. And he draws this, and eventually it's like a Macy Days parade with Ursula, and like everything's coming out of her bra. And she's this, and it's called A Day with Mrs. Matter. the choir teacher, not Mrs. Mutter.
Right.
She is livid.
Sure, of course.
When this comes out, she's so mad. And through the grapevine, she's like, I'm going to sue you guys.
For what?
Defamation and whatever, right?
But it was not Mrs. Mutter.
So then he writes, and this was, I gave him the title, but he writes this article called, for the next issue, What's the Matter, Mutter? And it explains that it's a perfectly coincidental thing. And these are entirely fictional characters and all this stuff, right? So I go on my mission. I come back and I see her, and she's like, "Well, I hope."
Wagging a finger at you.
Yeah, she's like, "I hope that you know you've grown up." And I said, I think I've learned a lot of stuff, but I think ultimately, like, I think you and I it's difference of personalities, and that's okay. And she's like, well, apparently you've learned nothing. And, like, walks away. I was like, whatever.
All right.
So while I'm gone, there's a concert called Taste of Kerns. Okay. And it's themed, and they do an elaborate thing.
Is there food involved too?
I don't know. But she
come on, missed opportunity.
The next Taste of Kerns after the Ursula comic strip. She does.
Was this while you were on your mission?
This is while I'm on my mission. She does a Little Mermaid themed one, and she comes out as Ursula.
So
she pulls the baton out of her dress.
Hilarious.
So even though she's mad about it,
she leans into it.
She leans into it, and the people that knew thought this was, like, hilarious. So I mean, she really did kind of like the attention.
Yeah, of course.
Right. And so that was like a small controversy, but kind of a running, like, Mrs. Mutter hates you. But James and Mrs. Mutter got along pretty well. She didn't know that he was the one drawing the comics. He's much better at, like, schmoozing than I am. The other thing that was a little more
diplomatic than you are.
Yeah, the other thing that was controversial, and this was at the end of my senior year, was they were going to print the yearbook because it was like next year's yearbook was 2000. They wanted to do something really cool. So instead of printing it like portrait, they were going to do it landscape and have it, like, open up like a checkbook.
Interesting. Okay.
So I find this out through the grapevine, and people are informing me they really don't like it. And the girl that is in charge of the yearbook.
The yearbook. They're going to print the yearbook like this.
Yeah, and it's the next year.
Idea.
I'm not going to be there next year for this.
That's a terrible idea.
But we know about it. It's toward the end of my senior year. It's next year's yearbook.
So did
They're
you
already
write an
planning
article about it?
So I'm going to write an article about it. I'm friends with the girl that's in charge of the yearbook, and she pulls me aside and says, "Dave, I've heard that you know about this. Please don't run this article." And I was like, "Okay, I won't run the article because we're friends."
Did you run it anyway?
Anyway,
Dave, you ran it anyway.
It's complicated. So me and my friend went somewhere, and there's this girl there named Jessica Camp, and Jessica Camp was like, very put together.
Okay,
she's like a woman among girls.
Okay,
you know, perfect hair, great nails, great tan, makeup, and she was on the yearbook committee.
Okay.
And she saw me and my friend and just, like, went after us. And I'm like, "Jessica, I'm not writing the article." And she's like, "You're the worst, blah, blah, blah. How dare you?" I said, "We're not writing the article, Jessica." And she would not give it up.
So you ran it anyway.
So we ran it because Jessica would not give it up. And it was like a vengeful thing.
Did you address Jessica in this article?
Oh yeah. Okay. So we wrote it, but we wrote it sideways. So you had to turn the stool pigeon to read it the way the yearbook would be. And then at the very end, we said, "We are sorry that we ran this article, but Jessica Camp was just such a jerk that we had to." Something along those lines. She was so mad. Rightfully so, because I was being... Right. It was like a petty thing to do that, sure. Right? But she was attractive enough that I was worried that she would have, like, some jock meathead boyfriend who would just pound me
Did
into the
anything
sand.
come of
Nothing
it?
ever
Of
happened
course.
of it.
Yeah.
It was like, this isn't Yerington, Nevada. People aren't making death threats.
They're not threatening to rip the helmet off your head.
Yeah, so
They're not threatening to rip your head off.
there was another newspaper that ran an article about it, and then the Salt Lake City Weekly, which is the third largest newspaper in Utah. It's the independent one.
Yeah.
They voted me newspaper editor of the year.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations, Dave.
They never interviewed me. They were just like, this guy's
just
awesome.
decided,
Like, he stuck it to the man.
So when did you decide that journalism was not for you?
I don't know that I never took a journalism class before. I was just doing it to be a punk, I think. Like, I did think about writing, starting in a newspaper later, like after my mission. I wanted to call it USA Yesterday. And what I was going to do is I was going to get the news from 10 years ago and do follow-up stories on it. So 10 years ago today, or 10 years ago this week, this was what was in the news. Too often you hear the news and it's like, you don't ever get full closure because you hear about the story. But it's like, now let me tell you what happened afterwards.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back, I'm going to find these. And then my thought was I would get journalism students at the universities to do it for free. I'd get advertising, and I got to hit the ground really hard before I get sued by USA Today. Because it is a play on their name.
Sure.
And I was like, I don't know. I'm not like, I got other things to do with my life.
So you decided not to pursue USA Yesterday.
I'm not going to do a USA Yesterday. It was a fun chapter. I really enjoyed doing the Stool Pigeon. I had a good time with my friends and stuff. There are people that I heard along the way, and like I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I feel genuinely bad. Like, older Dave's like, oh man, this is not very Christ-like behavior. We did do this once. It's a quick little side story. So there was a girl named Paige Peterson.
Okay.
And Paige is this like 4'10", 5 foot tall, cute little girl, great big curly hair, tons of fun. And me and my friends, we'd be sitting around. It'd be like, Freddie and I were trying to get a date or whatever. And I'd have a date. James would have a date. Ben would be like, I'm going to ask Paige. So he asked Paige, and Paige says yes, and then somehow everybody else's dates, like they canceled.
So
and Paige canceled.
Oh, okay.
And this happened like 6 or 7 times. If any of us asked Paige out, the whole date fell apart. And sometimes we'd show up at her house, and she just wouldn't be there. Like she forgot or something. So I pulled her aside and I said, Paige, you are cursed. And she's like, no. So we wrote an article called The Paige Curse about her. And she thought that was pretty funny.
That's hilarious.
And then we were like, my friend Ben, he hadn't been asked out to a girl's pref dance. So he actually bought an advertisement spot, and it was, attention women. Obviously, there's been an oversight. All of you have thought that I've already been asked out because I'm so, amazing. Right. But then nobody asked me out. And so that was like
That's
pretty
clever.
funny.
Like
yeah.
that.
We had a get one free Stool Pigeon free coupon that we'd print every once in a while as like a filler. Yeah. And it's like, they're already free.
You're right.
We put a thing in there. It's like, scratch me. I smell like paper. Look at me. I look like paper. It's like, and then it's like, lick me. Like,
I taste
you
like paper.
pervert. So we put like all sorts of little things in there. One of the articles that I wrote was about speeding. And I was like, the way the traffic system works, it actually rewards you for following the speed limit, because if you hit the lights, you're going to keep hitting lights green. And by getting to the traffic light faster, you're stopping. And the stop and go is what creates the traffic. And so by speeding 5, 6, 7 miles over the speed limit, you're actually making things worse for everybody. But the simple solution is, if you want to speed, You need to go double the speed limit.
So
I mean, it's total satire, and I don't think the math works out on this. And I had kids coming up to me like, yeah, I was going down 54th and going 80. I hit every light. I'm like, oh my gosh, please don't get in an accident. I'm going to get sued. This is obviously like satire. It's written by the Incredible Bulk.
That's where the email comes from.
No, my email's the Incredible Bolt because I found out
Bolt.
that the Incredible Bulk is a porn star name.
Of course.
Surprisingly. We also had like the Cat in the Hat and just like random. I think James, he's Native American. I think he had like that Indian guy or something. Like not so subtle.
Proposal.
Yeah.
We add a segment for USA Yesterday
USA Yesterday
on the podcast.
I think there are services that do this now, I think. If there's not, I really think it'd be an interesting thing to have some, hey, this is what happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
And this is and give
and
closure.
Here's kind of like an update to what happened.
Yeah.
On this day or on this week so many years ago.
Yeah.
So
I think that'd be fun. Let's explore that.
Anyway, that's my adventures with the stool pigeon.
Jeez. I can't believe it got all the way up to the American Civil Liberties Union.
Yeah.
That is
and the AP
and the Associated Press.
And there was another art Salt Lake Tribune wrote a follow-up article again.
Okay.
So that it was in the Tribune twice. It was
never in the history of high school again was an independent newspaper squashed by Miss Trunchbull and Mrs. Umbridge.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really interesting to like hear the principal's perspective on it because he didn't come from a place of like, hey, let me help you understand. He just was like, I think he wanted to just keep things nice and neat. The irony of it is that the administrators were very concerned about combining the lunches. So we had two separate 30-minute lunch periods, and they were going to give us one 40-minute lunch. And I'm like, look, this is sweet. We get more lunch. And I get to have it with all my friends.
Yeah.
But this also meant that kids would like leave the campus and go to like McDonald's.
Because they had more time.
But they wanted to go to McDonald's, but now everyone's going to McDonald's.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe kids are going to make more mess because there's not as much seating. And so they had all these concerns.
Sure.
So the way I wrote the article, which was more like an editorial piece, is like, hey, this is net positive. Let's try to make this work. Let's not fulfill their fears.
Right.
And I'm getting pulled into the office saying, like, you can't pass out your newspaper anymore. I'm not calling you fat, Mr. Savage.
Right. So
I'm not making fun of you.
So this totally overshadowed the whole lunch issue?
I mean, the lunch thing changed in January, and it went fine.
Oh, so they did go through with the...
They did go through with it, but the school newspaper people were upset because I had scooped their...
Because you got out in front of it.
Yeah, because the fact is that people would just come to me and tell me things. And I was like, oh, all right, we'll write an article about that. Looking back at it, I mean, it's like my journalistic integrity is probably the equivalent of a tabloid.
How much time a week did you spend on the stool pigeon?
So it was very chaotic, but our goal was to print the same day as the school newspaper.
Which was how, a week? Like a weekly issue?
It's like once a month.
Once a month.
And so we'd write articles, and sometimes they'd just sit there, and then a lot of times they'd be like, oh, crap, we need to do this. We'd be at Kinko's till like 2 a.m. Like we became friends with the Kinko's manager. And they would let us use machines that they wouldn't let customers normally use and like operate it. We're like laying on the ground sleeping. One time the manager went and got us like food.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's straight up like Newsies. Like, you poor little boys. So
look at me. I'm the king of New York.
Cards. I remember in one of the articles I accidentally put Wets Valley City instead of West Valley City.
Oh, typo, huh?
Yeah, and in one of the, I can't remember, it was like the Salt Lake Observer. The newspaper's not around anymore, but they wrote an article about me, and that was one of the things I talked about, was like, hey, we're not perfect. And so they kind of like made fun of it. Like, I'm making fun of myself, but Wets Valley was kind of even funnier, because like Kearns and West Valley have this like, no, I'm better than you, but it's just like two not great cities.
Yeah.
Like, people are like, where do you live, Kearns? But the nice part. That means nothing. You're in Kearns, man.
Where you're at in Kearns.
Like,
that's hilarious.
we drive into West Valley and like, ooh, I feel dirty. Like, dude, that's a pot calling the kettle black, man. Like, you guys are both in poor, rundown neighborhoods.
Oh man.
Anyway,
Well,
late.
good times.
We've had a lot of technical issues today.
Yes, we have.
And Dave is going to do an amazing editing job as always. And
give it a
I
shot.
am going to go to bed. You're going to go to bed too. You're not going to do the editing now.
Not tonight. No, we'll get that. That's a weekend thing.
So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And feel free to drop comments. We do pay attention to them. And
Yes,
thanks.
we do.
Thanks for listening to another episode of The Daves of Our Lives.